I was always the black sheep of the family. But nothing prepared me for the day I found out that my own mother had been encouraging my husband to leave me for someone she secretly preferred over me. I've always been the disappointment. While my sister Emma got straight A's and perfect attendance awards, I was getting detention for talking back. While she volunteered at soup kitchens, I was sneaking out to parties. So when I met Jake at 19 and he actually seemed to love me despite my flaws, I thought I'd finally found someone who saw past the black sheep label my family had stamped on me. We got married at 23, small ceremony. My mom spent the whole reception telling people how mature Emma would be when her turn came. Jake squeezed my hand under the table and whispered that we'd show them all. For 5 years we tried. We bought the house, got the dog, played the part of the happy couple at family gatherings while my mother made passive-aggressive comments about my housekeeping and cooking. Then Emma got engaged to David. David was everything Jake wasn't. Harvard MBA, trust fund, connections. The kind of man who wore suits to casual dinners and somehow made it look effortless. My mother lit around him like Christmas morning. She'd actually listen when he spoke, laugh at his jokes, ask his opinion on everything from to politics. The contrast was so stark it felt like a physical weight on my chest every time we were all together. Mom really loves David, Jake said one night after a particularly painful family dinner where she'd ignored him completely. She's just excited about Emma's engagement. It's been 8 months, Sarah. She introduced him to 3 different neighbors tonight as their future son-in-law while I stood right there. I wanted to defend her, but the words died in my throat. He was right. That's when Marcus started paying attention to me. Marcus was Emma's friend from college, a photographer who come to town for the engagement party planning. He was everything I'd convinced I didn't want anymore. Spontaneous, artistic, the kind of guy who'd take on midnight drives just to see the stars. When he looked at me, really looked at me, I felt like I was 19 again and anything was possible. Or not like the rest of family, he said one afternoon when I'd volunteered to drive in the venue for the engagement photos. Got this fire in. It's beautiful. Jake never said things like that. Jake was steady, reliable, safe. He told me he loved me and that it. But he'd never called me beautiful in that breathless way that made stomach flip. I'm married, I said, but my voice shook. I know. I'm not asking to change that. I'm just saying deserve someone who sees how amazing are. The flirting started innocent. Texts about photography tips that turned personal. Coffee meetings that ran long. He'd brush my hand when passing me his camera and I'd feel electricity straight through me. For the first time in years I felt wanted. Not tolerated, not accepted despite my flaws, but genuinely desired. Jake was working late more often, trying to make partner at his firm. He'd come home exhausted and want to talk about his day, about the house projects we needed to tackle, about visiting his parents next weekend. Normal married couple stuff that suddenly felt suffocating. Meanwhile, Marcus would text me at midnight with random observations about the world, send me photos of sunrises with captions like, "Thought of when I saw this." He made me feel alive in a way I'd forgotten was possible. The first kiss happened 3 weeks before Emma's engagement party. We'd been reviewing photos at his hotel, and when I leaned over to point out a good, he turned his head and our lips met. It lasted maybe 3 seconds, but it felt like stepping off a cliff. "I should go," I whispered. "Should doesn't always mean what we want it to mean," he said. I went back the next day. And the day after that. Each time telling it was just kissing, just feeling alive again, just proving to that someone could want me the way my mother wanted Emma's perfect. But boundaries have a way of shifting when already lying to. The night it went too far, Jake had texted that he'd be staying overnight at the office to finish a presentation. Marcus had just gotten back from and when he opened his hotel room door, the look in his eyes told me we both knew why I was really there. Afterward, lying in sheets that smelled like someone else's, I felt like I was watching outside my body. This wasn't who I was. This wasn't who I'd promised Jake I'd be when we exchanged vows in front of everyone we loved. "I can't do this," I said, scrambling for my clothes. "Sarah, wait. No. This was a mistake. A huge mistake." I drove home with the radio off and the windows down, hoping the cold air would somehow wash away what I'd just done. Jake was asleep when I got there, his presentation materials spread across the kitchen table. He'd left me a note. "Thanks for always believing in me, love." I the note away and took the longest shower of my. But damage once done, doesn't wash clean. And in a family that already saw me as the problem, my secret felt like a loaded with my name engraved on every bullet. Emma's engagement party was a nightmare wrapped in pastel decorations and catered hors d'oeuvres. I kept expecting Marcus to give us away with a look or a gesture, but he was the picture of professionalism. Meanwhile I could barely make eye contact with Jake, who kept squeezing my hand and whispering how proud he was to be there with me. My mother had outdone herself. She'd invited half the town, decorated the backyard like a magazine spread, and spent the evening floating from group to group talking about Emma's perfect choice in men and perfect future. When she introduced David to the mayor, I heard her say, "This is the kind of man who's going to give me beautiful grandchildren." Jake and I had been trying for a baby for 2 years. "Did hear that?" Jake asked, his smile tight. "Mom's just excited. She's never once asked how we're doing with trying." "Not once, but she's already planning their future kids." I wanted to tell him he was imagining it, but then my mother swept over with David in tow. "David simply must tell Jake about promotion. Maybe he can learn something about career advancement." The casual cruelty of it took my breath away. Jake's jaw clenched, but he extended his hand like the good man he was. "Congratulations, David. What field are in again?" "Investment banking. Just made senior VP at Morrison & Associates." "That's fantastic. I'm still working on making partner at the firm, but these things take time." My mother's smile was sharp as glass. "Well, some people are just naturally ambitious." That's when I saw Marcus watching from across the yard, his camera lowered, his expression unreadable. Our eyes met for one devastating second, and I felt the weight of every lie I'd been telling. The rest of the party passed in a blur of forced smiles and growing dread. When we finally got home, Jake was quiet in that way that meant he was processing. "Family's never going to accept me, are they?" he said as we got ready for bed. "That's not true. Sarah, mother just publicly humiliated me at sister's engagement party, in front of people I work with. The mayor was there. My boss was there. She wasn't thinking. She was thinking. That's the problem. She was thinking about how much better David is than me, and she wanted everyone else to think it too. I wanted to comfort him, but the guilt was eating me alive. Here he was, by my family's rejection, and I'd been betraying him with another man. The irony was suffocating. That night, lying beside my husband who'd done nothing wrong except love someone my family deemed unworthy, I made a decision. I deleted Marcus's number, I blocked him on social media. I into being the wife Jake deserved. For 3 weeks it worked. We went on dates, we talked about the future, we made love like newlyweds again, and I almost convinced that the affair had been a momentary insanity that was safely behind us. Then Emma called. Sarah, I need to tell something, and you're not going to like it. My turn to ice. What? Marcus told me what happened. He said too, that slept together. The phone slipped from my hand and clattered on the kitchen floor. Jake was in the shower. I could hear the water running, hear him humming off key like he always did when he was happy. Sarah, are there? I picked the phone with shaking hands. Why would he tell that? 'Cause he's in love with, he wants to leave Jake and be with him. That's insane. I'm not leaving my husband. He thinks He says told him marriage was over. I never said that. Well, he's been telling people we're getting divorced. David heard it from 3 different sources at his golf club yesterday. The room started spinning. What people? What sources? Does it matter? Sarah, what we're thinking, Jake is a good man. I know he's a good man. I know what I did was wrong. Then why did do it? The question hung in the air like a blade. Why had I done it? Because Marcus made me feel special. Because I was tired of being the family disappointment. Because I wanted to prove that someone could choose me first for once. All of those reasons sounded pathetic in the harsh light of consequence. I don't know, I whispered. Need to tell Jake before he hears it from someone else. Emma, please, I'm begging. Don't say anything. I'll handle this. I'm not gonna lie but I'll give 24 hours to figure out how to tell him. She hung, and I stood in my kitchen listening to my husband sing in the shower, knowing that in 24 hours, the we'd built together would be over. But I was wrong about the timeline. Jake came out of the bathroom, the towel around his waist and his phone in his hand, his face white as. Who's Marcus? He asked. My knees gave out. I sank into a kitchen chair, my mouth opening and closing like a fish. Jake. I just got a text from a number I don't recognize. It says, wife has something to tell about her photographer friend. Who the is Marcus? Sarah. The words came out in a broken whisper. He's Emma's friend, and I made a terrible mistake. I watched my husband's world end in real time. Watched the confusion turn to understanding. The understanding turned to devastation. He set his phone down with the careful precision of someone trying not to break things. How terrible, Jakey. Terrible. We slept together. Once, it was a mistake and I ended it, and I was never gonna tell because it meant nothing and I love and I'm so sorry. He stared at me for a long time, water dripping from his hair onto our kitchen floor. Once, I nodded, tears streaming down my face. But we're seeing him. Before the once. It wasn't a question. Yes, how long? Maybe a little more. A month. He said it like he was testing how the word felt. A month of lying to me. A month of coming home and kissing me with the same mouth we're kissing him with. Jake, please. A month of me wondering why I seemed so distant, so distracted. A month of me thinking I was doing something wrong. He picked his phone and showed me the message. Below the text about Marcus was a photo. Me leaving Marcus's hotel room, my hair messed, my shirt buttoned wrong. Who sent this? I don't know, but I'm guessing it's not the last one I'm gonna get. He was right. Over the next hour, messages poured in from blocked numbers. More photos, screenshots of my texts with Marcus, details about our coffee dates, our kisses, our one night together. Someone had been watching, documenting, building a case against me. Jake packed a bag while I sat at the kitchen table, my phone buzzing with evidence of my betrayal. He didn't yell, didn't call me names, just methodically folded his clothes like he was going on a business trip. Where we'll go? I asked. My brothers. For now. Jake, can we please talk about this? Can we try to work through it? He stopped packing and looked at me with eyes I'd never seen before. Cold, final. Work through what? Sarah? Cheating on me, lying to me for a month, making me look like a fool in front of everyone we know. It was a mistake. No, a mistake is forgetting to pick milk. This was a series of choices. Every time texted him, every time met him, every time came home and pretended to be my loving wife while we're thinking about another man. The brutal honesty of it broke something inside me. I do love Ba, maybe do, but love more. And that's something I can't fix. He left that night, and I was alone with the wreckage of everything I'd destroyed. But the real nightmare was just beginning. Because whoever had been watching me wasn't done yet. The photos hit social media the next morning. Someone had created an account called Cheating Wives of Our Town, and posted everything. The hotel pictures, the text messages, even a video someone had taken of me kissing Marcus in the parking lot of the coffee shop where we'd met. My phone started ringing at 6 a.m. Friends, coworkers, people I barely knew from high school. Everyone wanted to know if it was real, if it was really me, if Jake knew. The humiliation was so complete it felt like being stripped in front of the entire town. But the worst call came from my mother. Sarah Elizabeth, what have done? I was still in yesterday's clothes, hadn't slept, could barely form coherent thoughts. Mum, the neighbors are calling me, people from church sending me screenshots. Is this really in these pictures? Wes, the silence that followed was so long I thought she'd hung. How could do this to that poor boy? Poor boy. I've spent 5 years treating Jake like garbage. That doesn't give the right to cheat on him, and with Emma's friend, at her engagement party. Do you have any idea what this does to our family's reputation? Not okay. Not can we help work through this, just the family reputation. I'm sorry, Mom. Sorry doesn't fix this. Sorry doesn't undo what done. Emma's wedding is in 3 months, and now everyone's gonna be talking about her sister's affair instead of celebrating her marriage. I didn't mean for this to happen. Didn't mean to get caught. There's a difference. She was right, and the truth of it was like acid in my chest. Jake's moved out, I said. Good for him, he deserves better than what gave him. The line went dead. I called Emma next but it went straight to voicemail. I tried David figuring maybe he could put in a word for me, but he didn't answer either. Marcus's phone was disconnected entirely. By noon I'd lost my job. My boss called it a mutual agreement, that I should take time to handle my personal situation, But we both knew I was being fired. The photos had reached my workplace. An insurance firm couldn't have an employee whose personal drama was trending on local Facebook groups. The isolation was immediate and absolute. Friends stopped returning calls, neighbors avoided eye contact. Even the mailman seemed to judge me when he handed over the stack of bills I could no longer afford to pay alone. But the cruelest came 3 days later. I was at the grocery store, trying to shop quickly and invisibly when I overheard a conversation in the next aisle. I always knew that girl was trouble. Remember in high school, always running around with different boys. Poor Jake, he's such a nice man, my daughter went to school with him. Well, I heard he's already seeing someone new, that pretty teacher from the elementary school. The one with the blonde hair. My hand tightened on the shopping cart handle. Jake was dating someone, already. How do you know that? Linda Morrison told me. Her daughter works at the school, says they've been having lunch together every day this week. Good for him, he deserves happiness after what that woman put him through. I abandoned my cart and fled the store, tears blurring my vision. In the parking lot I called Jake's number, but it went straight to voicemail. Jake, it's me. Please call me back. I heard about the teacher. I need to talk to please. He didn't call back, but Emma did. Need to stop calling him. Emma, I heard he's dating someone. So what if he is? Don't get to have an opinion about Jake's anymore. It's only been a week. Cheated on Sarah. Don't get to set the timeline for how he heals. But a week. Doesn't that seem fast? Emma's laugh was bitter. Want to know something? Jake's been having lunch with Ms. Rodriguez since before cheated. She was tutoring him in Spanish because he wanted to trip the trip to Mexico for anniversary. He wanted to be able to talk to locals, make the trip special for. The words hit me like a physical. What? He was planning to surprise. Had the whole thing booked. The hotel showed him from that travel magazine. He was so excited about it. I sank onto the hood of my car, the weight of what I destroyed finally hitting me in full. He was learning Spanish for me. For 2 months. Every lunch break, Rodriguez said he lit whenever he talked about the surprise. She thought it was the sweetest thing she'd ever seen. Oh God, and now she's helping him heal from what did to him. Not dating Sarah, helping him remember that not all women are liars. The phone slipped from my hands and shattered on the asphalt. I sat in that parking lot for an hour, crying until I had nothing left. That night I got a visitor. My mother stood on my doorstep with a suitcase and an expression I'd never seen before. We need to talk. She came inside without being invited, set her suitcase by the door, and turned to face me with her arms crossed. I've been thinking about what said. About how I treated Jake. Mum, don't interrupt me. I'm trying to say something important. She sat down heavily on my couch, suddenly looking older than her 58 years. We're right, I did treat Jake poorly. I was disappointed in choice and I made sure everyone knew it. Why are telling me this now? Because I need to understand something. Yes, I preferred David. Yes, I thought Emma could do better than the choices we're making. Yes, I made Jake feel unwelcome in this family. She looked at me with eyes that held no warmth. But that doesn't excuse what did, not for 1 second. I know that. Do. Because I've been calling everyone, trying to get them to feel sorry for it to help win Jake back. Like this is something that happened to instead of something chose. The accuracy of it stung. I made a mistake, made 100 mistakes. Every text, every meeting, every lie. Chose another man over husband, and now want to blame everyone else for the consequences. I'm not blaming anyone else. Then why are here alone instead of moving on? Why are stalking Jake's instead of building a new one? Why are trying to get Emma and me to fix what broke? I didn't have an answer. I came here to tell something and then I'm leaving. Tomorrow I'm flying to help Emma plan her wedding. David's mother has offered to host the rehearsal dinner, and we're going to focus on celebrating their love instead of managing drama. We're going to miss it, aren't? Emma's wedding. No, are. The words hit like a, what do you mean? David doesn't want there. David doesn't want there, and frankly neither do I. Presents would be a distraction from their day, and they deserve better. She's my sister. She's my daughter who's trying to start her marriage without it being overshadowed by her sister's infidelity. Jake will be there, by the way. As David's groomsman. They've become close through all of this. The final twist of her choosing her over me. I'm choosing the daughter who makes good decisions over the one who destroys everything she touches. She stood and headed for the door. Mom, please don't go. I have to. Because if I stay, I might say things that can't be taken back. Like what? She turned around one last time and I saw something in her face I'd never seen before. Not disappointment, not anger. Disgust. Like how I spent years making excuses for. Telling people grow out of the rebellious phase, that settle down and be responsible. I defended when teachers called, when neighbors complained, when friends warned me about behavior. Mom. I told that deep down we're a good person who just needed to mature. I was wrong. Deep down are selfish, always have been, and I years trying to convince otherwise. The door closed behind her with a soft click that sounded like a coffin lid. That was 6 months ago. Emma got married on a beautiful spring day that I watched from Instagram posts made by family friends. Jake looked handsome in his groomsman's tux, and in the photos where he was talking to Ms. Rodriguez, he was smiling in a way I'd forgotten he could. I live alone now in a 1-bedroom apartment across town. I work at a call center under my maiden name, taking customer service calls from people who don't know my story. The pay barely covers rent and groceries, but it's enough to survive. Marcus tried to contact me once, about a month after everything fell apart. He wanted to meet, said he still had feelings for me, suggested we could start fresh somewhere else. I blocked his number without responding. Some lessons come too late to save what matters, but not too late to learn. I see Jake sometimes around town. He nods politely if our eyes meet, but there's nothing behind it. No anger, no, just the courteous acknowledgement give a stranger. It's somehow worse than if he hated me. Last week, I heard through the grapevine that he and Ms. Rodriguez are engaged. The same grapevine that once spread news of my affair now carries updates about his happiness. They're planning a summer wedding, small ceremony, just family and close friends. I won't be invited to that one either. My mother calls Emma every Sunday. I know cause Emma posts about their conversations on social media. Sunday calls with Mom. With pictures of her and David cooking dinner while FaceTiming my mother. The family I was exiled from has reformed without me, and they look happier in their photos than they ever did when I was part of it. The worst part isn't the loneliness, though that's crushing. It's not the financial struggle, or the social isolation, or even the knowledge that I'll never be part of another family gathering. The worst part is knowing that every single person who turned their back on me was right to do it. I destroyed something beautiful because I was bored. I betrayed someone who loved me because someone else made me feel special for a few weeks. I away 5 years of marriage for a month of fantasy, and when the consequences came, I spent more time trying to avoid them than understanding why I deserved them. They say everyone deserves a second chance, but some mistakes are too big for second chances. Some choices so deep that all the apologies in the world can't heal what's severed. Some people forfeit the right to forgiveness when they prove they never understood its value in the first place. I was always the black sheep, but I could have been so much more. Instead, I chose to be exactly what my family always feared I was. Someone who destroys everything she touches and then wonders why she's left holding the pieces alone.